Mayor Joe Carr,
Here.
Judge Steve Daniel, Ms. Claire Maxwell,
Here.
Dr. Michael McDonald,
Here.
Director William Cope,
Here.
Dr. Anita Herron, Mr. Chris Johnson.
Here. Thank you, Sheila. Have we had an opportunity, Judge, to review the minutes? Excellent. I will entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes. We have a motion from Ms. Maxwell. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Mr. Cope. All those in favor of approving the minutes say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes stand approved. I don't think we have anybody down for public comments. I'm going to volume down. I do want to take a personal point of privilege, if I could. So 22 years ago today, the most unfortunate of incidents occurred with the attack on our nation and New York City and Washington, D.C. and in Pennsylvania. And if it's okay with the board, I would like a moment of silence, please, for those our fallen heroes. Thank you. Amen. Thank you very much. Ms. Duke, open positions, item 4.
As of this moment, we just have one open position. It is our corporal position, and we are going to be doing, barring emergencies, our interviews process this week for that open corporal position.
How long has that position been open?
It's been open for a minute. This is, I think we have posted this 3 times.
What seems to be the issue? Is it getting qualified applicants or getting applicants or getting them through the interview process? Can you kind of...
We have,
And I guess what I'm asking is I'm asking kind of as a mayor's hat's on here a little bit, because we're having still having some challenges in other departments within the county as well. So I just want to be aware of what those challenges are, because I know Ms. Stevenson here, our HR director, and this is something we talk about all the time. So if this is something we need to be assisting you with, of course, we're glad to do that. So.
we have posted this internally and externally. We have posted this just internally. The main issue that we have had is that the shift and days are off are not the most desirable, and so people are just picking and choosing which shifts they prefer to work, as opposed to stepping up and taking a promotion.
Is this particular open position, the fact that it's been open for a minute, is it creating staffing challenges at the facility?
I can say that we have utilized a lot of overtime. We have had a lot of people pick up extra shifts to help out because it is a weekend shift. The other supervisor that shares this shift is really pulling her weight and then some. But I don't know that this particular open position is causing any more issues than any of our other ones have so far.
Again, I don't want to belabor the point, but when we have somebody working as much overtime as you seem to be intimating, it can put a stress on them without management realizing it, and I want to make sure we take care of our people. So we have several things going on here at the same time, and I know you're attending to these things, you always do, but I just want you to know that the chair and the mayor understand your predicament, and to the extent that Ms. Stevenson can assist you in, making the open position more attractive or whatever we need to do, please let us know.
And HR has reached out, and we've talked about potentially changing our going from 8 hours to 10 hours. That requires some additional staffing, and it's kind of a catch-22 because I think there are a lot of employees who would enjoy that 10-hour day. But then it's going to affect drop-off time with our school zones, and it's going to require additional staffing, and I'm really would like to not do that. So
You're getting no guidance from me here. I'm just wanting to let you know that the county's available to you to help you fill this position. Are there questions or comments from the board in this regard? Okay, thank you. Data report.
Okay, on the table, everyone should have a copy of the data report. As of this morning, when we printed it off, we had 12 young people that were currently in the facility, 5 of which were from Rutherford County, and you can see the breakdown of their charges, their court dates, and where they're from, and their ages.
Thank you, Lynn. Any questions or comments for Ms. Duke regarding the data report? And I'll give you a minute to digest if you need to. Seeing none. Ms. Duke, you're on item 6, Educational Services Report.
Okay, additionally, in front of you, this one is on the iPad, I believe. This is our educational report. This is something that we've been doing for a while now. Just kind of gives you the highlights of what the young folks are doing while they're in detention. I think everybody now has had an opportunity to tour and see the difference between what our education department does, what the Board of Education does through the special education program. And if you have any questions regarding that, I'll answer them.
Judge Daniel, you're recognized.
In looking at the report, it shows that the maximum number who have attended these classes are 5, and we've got 12 residents. Is there a reason why these other individuals are not participating?
I think what's happening is when we have school, some of them, remember, it's not just one big classroom where there's 12 young folks sitting together. We will have 5 kids in this class doing this. We'll have a special ed kid over here with a special education teacher. So we have multiple groups going on. Additionally, as these counties are sending young people to us and picking them up, they may be counted there for the day, but they may be in transition, being released or booked in, or they may actually be in court.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none. Moving along, we'll move to item 7, updated contract for detention beds. Ms. Duke.
Okay, so we requested that this be looked at in September again. We first saw this last month. And just to refresh everybody's memory, this contract has some new language in it. It is updated in that it no longer has a PREA language addendum, and we were discussing if we were comfortable changing the daily bed rate from 175 to something more. Additionally, other information that was requested was a workup from the finance department where they can do an all-inclusive cost per inmate day. I have put on the table in front of you information from fiscal years 1920, 2021, 21-22, and 22-23. 22-23 is not audited numbers, but it just gives you an idea. The other 3 years are fiscal year audited. And the last number on those pages is what it costs when you take in consideration everything, including the depreciation on the building. I have this information all the way back from 93. But I just brought the last 4 years. I can tell you that the cost per inmate day changed dramatically in 2012 when we moved from the old building to our new building. And I hope that that's enough information for y'all to have some ideas about our daily rate change.
And this daily rate change would take effect potentially when?
I would like to, at the earliest, make it January, and at the latest, make it July of 2024. I would like to give the counties that are contracting with us on the regular an opportunity to take this increase, if we choose to do that, into account when they do their fiscal year budget, so they are not strapped.
So if we do it January 1, how does that accommodate them in that regard?
It'll at least give them a couple months to prepare, and they'll have half a year's worth of money to be more conscientious with. And then if we wait till July 1, then they will have an opportunity to have that in their actual budgets.
And finally, do you have a recommendation?
I feel very comfortable going to 200. I think everybody received via email, and I did not print this out, but I also sent information to all of the board members regarding what the surrounding counties that replied to my request for information, what their daily rates were, what the state of Tennessee's daily rate is. 200 is, I'm very comfortable with it, and I potentially could consider going, to 225, but I wanted for the board to have an opportunity to take a look at these numbers and make some suggestions.
And recommended start date of January 1 or July 1?
I don't know that I have a preference.
And that's okay. I'm just wanting to make sure the board has the information. Mr. Cope, you had a question.
If I would make a suggestion, it would be for that July. That gives you enough time to not only notify these other counties, but also, like you said, I mean, we all go through that same budget process, and the timing is very, very similar in most counties. I would just, being in that situation myself, I would really like to be notified ahead of time, so that's what I would do. That's my suggestion.
Yes, Judge. Judge Daniel, you're recognized.
I have some questions I'd like to ask about this report that you gave from Finance, and so you could you explain to me what the jail fees are, revenue? Is that state payments?
As I understand it, and to the best of my ability to explain it to y'all, though that is what Rutherford County received in from other counties and other agencies for the bed days that they contracted with us for. So as an example, in fiscal year 1920, we had, for those extra beds that we allowed other counties to rent out, let's say, had $605,757 worth of revenue coming in. Now that depends on, it changes over the years because of population. So when you have more out-of-county kids, you have more revenue. You have less county kids, you have less revenue.
So for example, in the year 2019 to 2020, you had listed there 605,757. Those are dollars that other counties paid for residents who were housed here.
That's correct.
Okay. And of course, the population has decreased from that year, 2019 to 2020, to what it is now. What was the population during that cycle which we're talking about? generally, or just average?
Yeah,
In
so I'm just going to speculate based on the last year that we have. I'm going to say it was probably 25 to 30-ish kids.
About twice the number we got
Right, now I can, not only can I provide that, you can actually reference that on SharePoint. All of that information is documented and is still in the system as I understand it.
Okay, so the other question that I have is, you've got Title I is 53,000, and now this last page shows it at 25,000. Title I is some kind of federal program dealing with education that deals in the system.
Yes, that's federal money that we receive that goes for the salary of our main educational staff member, Garland Henley. And they do an audit for the month of October, and each October's population is what the federal Title I funds are based on. So as our population decreases, his Title I funding decreases.
So my last question, maybe last, I don't know, would be for residents that are in our facility that are Rutherford County citizens. Do we get any funds or resources from the state for residents who are charged with state crimes? And that, for example, we have had and we do have residents that are facing transfers where they may be held as accountable for adults. And if they are accountable that way, that goes into the prison population potentially. And the county and the receives some funds if they're housing state prisoners. Do we get anything like that?
We do not. I think that, and I would like a minute, maybe I can report back next month, but I would say that even if there was a way to work that out, it would only happen once they've actually been found guilty. And we probably only have had one or two that we've held that long. But it wasn't something that we pursued. You may have recalled me talking about a young man who requested that he could stay an extra year, and that was just something that the facility and his attorney and the court worked out and agreed upon, but we did not look into having there be any kind of repayment or payment for that. I don't know how that would work, but I can look into it and find out.
This all goes around to something else I'll ask us to consider. This last special session of the legislature, they were considering enhanced punishments for juveniles, and I'm thinking, would that enhanced juvenile detention be on our shoulders? And if it is, I think that we ought to ask the state to pay part of it.
That question is directed at me as a former state legislator, Judge. I would concur that if they're going to push a mandate down to the counties, then that mandate needs to be funded from the state from whence the mandate came from. And so I would agree with you that we need to lobby the 7 members of our delegation to give us the funds to comply with the mandate, if that's what happens.
The other part of that is, in looking at this, I really appreciate Ms. Duke's position here in trying to get a reevaluation of this daily rate, because the taxpayers here are paying a big portion of these responsibilities. And even if you got the $225, That's basically a $400 a day loss in comparison to what they project our cost to be. And so we need to protect our taxpayers and, of course, provide the services. It's never going to be for the purpose of making money or making it pay for itself, but to take responsibility and place it where it should be on the users.
I concur, and I believe that it's a fine balance that we're trying to strike here between the operating costs associated with the Juvenile Detention Center and then allowing ourselves to contract those services out to other counties. What is their financial obligation as we provide that? The flip side to that is, and I can't believe I'm saying this, is to whom much is given, much is required. And Rutherford County has been given a lot, and I do think that we do have a role. What that exact role is, I'm not sure, but we do have a role in assisting some of our neighboring counties, in particular a county like Cannon that doesn't have the resources. So if you're saying there's a balance there that we need to find, I completely agree. I think that's something that this board and Ms. Duke and the staff need to have a much longer conversation about. Dr. Herron?
Ms. Duke, has it ever been a time where the out-of-county placements have exceeded Rutherford County placements within the course of this year?
Oh, this year? I would want to go back and look. Potentially, but I think also one of the things that isn't on the forms that you have in front of you, but that is something that you have on the months that are quarterly information months that draws from some of the public safety data that I go monthly to the Public Safety Committee and discuss with them, that you're not seeing, is that part of our mission currently isn't just the young people that are being detained. We're also working with young people who are cycling through and getting their court dates and being released. And those young people and those numbers aren't really reflected on this information that's on public safety. And I just want to put it out there that there will always, whether it's Rutherford County or other counties, there is always going to be a dramatic difference in juvenile corrections and adult corrections because of the staffing ratios that we're required to maintain. We are able to have one staff member for every 8 beating hearts. If that were the staffing ratio at the adult facilities, you could see how their numbers would immediately inflate. And so a lot of our issues are because we are maintaining those minimum standards and having the correct staff-to-child ratios.
Judge Daniel, you're recognized.
These numbers, you can do anything with them, quite frankly, because one of the things when you look at your report, it's showing like this month we have 12 residents, and of course these, like you're talking about, these are cycling in or out. It'd be interesting to know how many total residents we've had in a year, because that will exceed 240. If you had 20 for 12 months, that'd be 240 if my math is right. So that would be an important consideration, because if you looked at it and the public looked at it and you said, well, you have 12 people here, you've got a $3 million budget, so if you figured you average 20 a month for the whole year, we're paying about $150,000 a residence to have that service. And when you consider that at a $225 rate, it looks like disproportionately we're paying for this service, and these other counties wouldn't have any incentive to try to build something and care for their own.
Right, and this was a discussion that the county commissioners had in the early to mid 2000s, and the elected commissioners at that time had those debates. So I can say that the information on the quarterly reports that I provide to this board that come from the public safety, the monthly public safety information that I share with that committee might have the numbers that you're looking for, because it has averages as well as actual numbers on it. The data report that I give to you on these meetings is what our population information is day of meeting.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll move to other business. Dr. McDonald, you're...
Want to...
No, Judge Daniel. I thought you wanted to move the date again. Didn't you do this last year?
Yeah, I think I did. But I'm back on this issue. Did you need a motion for this particular issue?
I would like a recommendation.
Excuse me. Thank you, Judge Daniel. So, with regard to the going to $200 and for a July 1 start date, is that what you're looking for?
Or whatever number they believe is in our best interest.
Thank you. Then the chair will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the change rate from $175 to $200 effective July 1st, 2024.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Mr. Cope. Let's do a roll call vote on this, please. Thank you, Judge Daniel. I got out ahead of myself.
Mayor Joe Carr?
Sorry?
Mayor Joe Carr?
Aye.
Okay. Judge Steve Daniel? Aye. Ms. Claire Maxwell?
Aye.
Dr. McDonald?
Aye.
Director Cope? Aye. Dr. Herron?
Aye.
Mr. Chris Johnson?
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Now, we're to other business. Judge Daniel, you're recognized.
I had suggested that we consider for our December date, if it's possible, to move it up 1 week to the first Monday, accommodate the holiday schedule and all the busyness associated with that, if it's possible. If that's a request.
The chair sees no objection, but I will entertain a motion in a second from the committee.
I agree. I'll make that motion.
Motion came from Director Cope,
I'll second it.
and we have a second from Ms. Claire Maxwell. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. We have moved from December 11th to Monday, December 4th, and that would be for the month of December only. Any other business? Dr. McDonald, you normally have some other business for the committee. You're not listed under other business today. Does that mean it didn't get on the agenda, or you don't have other business?
Don't have any other business. Thank you for recognizing me, though.
If there's no other business, we stand adjourned.